My name is Bernal, and our work at Stop Predatory Gambling is really based on, trying to bring about a massive government reform in our nation, like to educate people about what's happening with state governments across the United States promoting extreme forms of gambling in the name of funding public services. And so, when we talk about rising inequality today, the lack of, the inability of people to get out of poverty, this is Exhibit A in that debate. This is, these powerful gambling interests in partnership with a handful of public officials have really positioned, casinos particularly as an answer to our future. And it's the ultimate gimmick. And whether you gamble or not, like, you end up suffering from all this. But predatory gambling is really what's different between commercialized gambling, which we refer to as predatory gambling, versus social gambling. Is if we have a friendly wager on the NCAA March Madness tournament, and you and I, there's no house involved. Like, no one's taking a cut of that wager. But with commercialized gambling, there's a house involved. So over the long term, no matter what form of gambling it is, you're almost guaranteed to lose your money, especially the longer you do it. So it's really a form of financial fraud, and so our mission is to eliminate this huge financial fraud that's happening in our country, and is really resulting in millions of Americans losing billions of dollars of personal wealth. In 2018, the American people lost $118 billion of personal wealth to government-sanctioned gambling. It's an incredible loss. So politicians often lament, about their inability. There's so few levers to pull to change our society, to provide more opportunity and increase mobility out of poverty. So by promoting things like casinos to the American people, what states have done and municipalities have done is taken a nation of small earners, people who just make small amounts of wages, and instead of encouraging people to save, right? So instead of helping them become small savers, we've turned them into a nation of habitual bettors. The greater Bethlehem region, over the last 10 years, has lost, in terms of personal wealth, more than $4 billion, okay, to the Sands Casino. Okay, that's $4 billion of personal wealth that the citizens in that region have lost to that place. And so when they'll say, "Oh, look, there's a few retail stores there," and the economic impact of $4 billion of spending over 10 years, and all you have is a handful of retail places. The people that win in the commercialized gambling business, there's only one group of folks, and those are the people that run the casinos. Okay, that's why they're all billionaires. The guy that built Sands Casino is Sheldon Adelson. He's a multi-billionaire, one of the wealthiest men in the world. Okay, so at the end of the day, the people of Bethlehem, the state of Pennsylvania, they may have seen an infusion of money in the short term, but that's money that has been taken out of everyday, the savings and the assets of everyday folks. So in the long term, whether you gamble or not, you have a lower standard of living in the greater Bethlehem area because of the introduction of this massive, what is a wealth vacuum at the Sands Casino. I think a lot of public officials find this is an easy way out, right? It's really hard to go out and do the kinds of things that it takes to improve your economy and to improve opportunity for everyday people, right? You got to work on building your schools up and provide a better education for folks. You've got to attract new businesses to start up in your region, and then attract existing businesses to come to your region. That's hard work, okay? But there's no shortcuts. The key to success is just the day after day doing the hard work it is to build a society, to build an economy. these powerful corporate, gambling interests, they position themselves in communities and in states around the country that are financially desperate. Or you've been in a recession for the last several years, or you lost your industrial core. Guess what? We're your answer. Like, we're going to come in and infuse your economy with all this mythical money and these ultimately really low-paying jobs, mostly part-time jobs, that you can't that aren't the core of building an economy. I like to use the analogy of a blanket sometimes when I talk about this business, and there's several ways to talk about it. But when the blanket analogy is useful, because imagine if a big blanket factory was coming into Bethlehem, PA, and I want to go out and buy a blanket from them. I'd go out, I'd pay my $50, and I get my blanket, and I go home. Right? It's employing people, so forth. There's a multiplier impact to that. Everyone can buy their blanket and go home with it. In the gambling business, okay, the only way they profit, okay, I go to, in order for me, to take money home, everyone else has to lose. Do you see? Like, it's based on the misery of other people, the financial misery of other folks. So if I walk home, out of there with a little bit of cash in my pocket, more than I came with, that's not because everyone else had to lose in order for me to win. So you're basing your economy on really what ultimately is like a vulture-like mentality that I'm gonna gain at your expense and the expense of all my fellow community members. But the other way I like to talk about the gambling business, which makes it different than any other commodity or including any other vice like tobacco and alcohol. So what makes it different is it is a big con. Okay, it's a con. It's a form of financial fraud. So if when I go to, I go buy I get a drink of wine, order a drink, I'm getting a glass of wine in return. If I go buy a book, I'm getting a book in return. Okay, with predatory gambling, with commercialized gambling, you're luring me into that casino with the false lure that I'm going to have a chance to win money. But the games that I'm playing, they are mathematically guaranteed that over the long term, I'm going to lose all my cash. Like, I'm going to get fleeced. You see? So it's a form of financial fraud that is illegal for anyone else to operate in the state. Much is made about, the gambling interests will stand up and they'll say, well, most people gamble without a problem, or most people come into our casino and they have no issues. They refer to them as casual gamblers. But they don't make any money from the casual gamblers, okay? The money in the gambling business is made by the out-of-control player. Over the last, 10 to 15 years, there's more than a dozen studies that show between 40 to 60% of gambling profits come from people who are the out-of-control player. Okay, so guess how much money comes from the so-called casual player, right? The person, roughly 75% of the people walking into a casino are so-called casual gamblers. They may go, once, a couple times a year, maybe once every 6 months or something. Like, they make up, roughly make up 75% of the folks coming in. They make up 4% of the revenues. Okay, they're irrelevant. The casual gambler is irrelevant to the casino revenue scheme. It's the out-of-control player, and that's why when you walk into the casino, give me a free booze, right? Every time they walk in and say you've been there a lot, they'll say, "Hey, great to see. We haven't seen you in a while. Here's $50 worth of free slots play." Constantly urging you to keep gambling, because they know the longer we keep have you sit at that machine, at the slot machine, or at the gambling table, the longer that we can get you to sit there, it's inevitable that you're going to lose all your cash. And not just lose all the cash you came with, that they want to get you to get up out of that seat and go hit the casino ATM and borrow. And that's what they really want, is they want you to keep chasing your losses. And those are the people, that's one of the biggest scandals in America today that's been so underreported, is the relationship between casino ATMs and casinos. So that the casual player, they're not standing up to the casino and going to hitting the ATM. It's the people who are these hardcore players. They lost their cash, and now they're chasing the losses. And then the companies that own the casino ATMs, it's not like Bank of America or whatever. It's like a specialized company called Global Cash Access. They sell all the names of the people who take money out of the casino ATM back to the casino, and then the casino then markets to these individuals so intensely, because they know if we can get Joanne back into the casino, and we can keep her there for a couple hours, she's going to blow through the money she came with and hit the ATM. And it's a cycle. And this is a government program. This is being done with the blessing of state governments. The business model for regional casinos is based on the addicted and out of control gambler. Okay, more than half, 40 to 60% of the profits come from the out of control player, and so someone doesn't automatically start out as an addicted gambler, right? So casinos cultivate that. So that one of the first ways they'll do it is give you free play to come into the building, right? So you may have never gambled in your life, but in order to get access to that free play, they give you a consumer card. Okay, and you have to use the consumer card at the casino to get the free play. So you walk in there, you put your consumer card into the machine. Oh, you blow through the $50 worth of free slots play. If you show that the likelihood of somebody who plays super fast, or you show the likelihood of getting up and then hitting the casino ATM to take out cash, like you are just going to light up their computer screen at the casino. It's like, this is a prospect for us. This is somebody, if we know we get this man or woman back into the building, we're going to just take them for all they're worth. And so they develop a whole profile on you, what your predicted lifetime value is. It's the actual term that they use, predicted lifetime value for their individuals that get these consumer cards. And then if you haven't seen you in a couple of weeks, they'll send you more free play. Come on back down. They'll assign an employee to call you. If you become a big loser for the casino, they assign, they call it a host, right? Which is it's a great term, because the word host in this instance really is more like a parasite, right? They assign somebody on you to keep calling you. Hey, Joanne, we haven't seen you in a couple of weeks. Come on back down. Here's a free hotel room. Here's free slots play. Here's a free dinner. So you keep coming back over and over again. They're constantly through the mail, through your inbox and your email and the telephone, calling you all the time, recruiting, and then you come back. And then once you get hooked, once you're there, there's no clocks in the building. They're open 24 hours. And so people get into what's called the zone. Like much has been written about, particularly with electronic gambling machines, is people get into these machines. They're not so much even trying to win anymore. They're playing them to escape, right? So you have a tough day at work. Your family's giving you, having a difficult time at home with your family. You have a spouse that's sick and you need to escape the pressures of everyday life. Guess what? I walk into that casino, they know my name. Hey, Les, we haven't seen you in a while. It's great to have you here. You sit down in your machine and you escape, not just for an hour. Like these people who go into the zone, they play for hours, like 10 hours, 24 hours straight. Okay, encouraging people on these huge binges. So when the casinos stand up and say, "Oh, we don't know who the addicted player is," you can be, a 12-year-old, with this stuff. And if someone's been at the casino gambling for 24 straight hours, something, they have a problem. And that's the bulk of the revenue that cities like Bethlehem are getting from the casino. It's coming from those addicted players. Like that's where this revenue stream's coming from. There's dozens of examples across the United States, and I'm just going to name one right now, where communities, looked at, at the time were financially desperate. They had issues, big properties that were vacant, and they, instead of welcoming in a business that's going to make the region poorer and based on financial fraud, they went out and said, no, we're not going to build a casino here, and we're going to build our economy. The only way to build an economy is through hard work, retraining our workers, making our region becoming a desirable place to live. And so, places like Omaha, Nebraska had a massive old racetrack. Okay, and the owners of the racetrack were saying, listen, the only way we're going to rebuild this property is you got to give us a casino here. And ultimately, despite enormous amounts of lobbying, the city of Omaha said it rejected it. And now, a decade later, you have an incredible economic engine there with insurance companies, technology companies, universities based in this property that was once designated as a casino. So there is no simple way to success. It's about doing the work, real leadership, having a vision. I mean, that was something. Think about during the Great Depression, right? You had millions of people out of work. You had a government was going bankrupt. Think of how easy it would have been for the leaders at that time to stand up and say, hey, the only answer for us is we have to build casinos, like across the country. Like imagine, that's the equivalent of it. And what they didn't do that. They said, no, what we're going to do is we're going to go out and we're going to challenge the American people to save. So they went out and did these huge campaigns to get the American people to buy bonds, right? What's the iconic image from that era? It's Rosie the Riveter with her biceps flexed. And the message is, we can do it, right? I mean, when was the last time that the region, the leaders around the greater Bethlehem area said, we don't need gimmicks like a casino. We can do this by hard work and sacrifice and make it happen. And so in the Great Depression, they ended up putting millions of people to work. And now, like we look back in history, all these books are written about that generation. And what do they call them? They call them the greatest generation, right? Like now, it's like we have this generation of folks that it's all about financial fraud. I'm here to rip you off. So regardless of what your religious faith is, like most faiths have this a sense of of loving your neighbor like yourself. And predatory gambling, bringing casinos in, particularly to your region, it's the complete opposite of that ethic. It's I love myself more than my neighbor because I'm going to rip you off, and it creates a culture of fraud and exploitation.